On the last video, I had done this guy and basically made it the interchiller system work by using that. It controlled the valve that I have in there to turn it on or off. That's not working very well. It worked really good in the video, but like the next day I went out and drove and I had misfires like crazy. This wasn't actuating when it was supposed to. So I'm talking to Racebox and they're like, in theory, it should work. It should have worked. But for some reason it's not. So what they did for their Z is they basically hooked it up to where they control their valve with the button. And that's where I'm at to this point. I really didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be able to be controlled with, you know, something smart, but it's not working that way. So I removed it. I'm going to return it. It's just not working the way I wanted to. And so the plan for this video is I'm going to take the valve off. And the issue with the valve right now is its default, so spring return system, is the interchiller. So I need to take it off. I need to change it, so basically take it apart, make the spring return the front mount heat exchanger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that valve and run the wires inside to my buck boost converter gauge, or buck boost converter, whatever, to where when I turn it on, that is going to actuate the valve, which will then give fluid to the interchiller, because when I turn that on as well, it basically hacks the radiator to where it turns it on 100%. So then when I turn that on, it'll also turn on the interchiller. This way, I'll also be able to use my full race mode switch, because with this, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So it'll allow me to utilize my full race switch. And what I'm going to try and do is, because I do have the thermostat like sensor in there to see how cold my intake manifold, or not my intake manifold, yeah, I guess my intake manifold coolant temps are. So I'm going to take this wire setup, snip it, and I'm going to try and run this to my P3V3 gauge, because I can't find anything else to route it to inside, as in like a sensor that'll read low enough, it'll mount and look good, etc., etc. So what I'm going to try and do is route that to my P3V3 gauge. Now, I don't know if it's going to accept it, because the only analog things I can find on like their page is like adding a boost gauge or air to fuel gauge. So I don't know if it's going to be able to accept something like this. Off to an early start this morning. I went ahead and rerouted the wires. It's a little crazy in here right now. So this right here goes to the valve, or not the valve, I'm sorry. This goes to the buck boost converter. And I tapped into that wire. Whatever that is, I'm spacing right now. I put that in there, and then it actuates by my buck boost converter switch. So I'll flip this switch and you can hear it. So here's the switch. So now that means, right now the way it's configured is it's going to be flowing coolant through my front mount heat exchanger. So I need to still take it out and swap that switch. But you can see it's in the on position, so I'll turn it off. You can hear it's going back. So that's all done. Now I just need to take basically the system back apart. It looks like I have a leak somewhere. It's leaking quite a bit. I do know it's from that connector right there. I can't really take that valve apart. I learned that very quickly, so that kind of sucks. This fitting right here, the one that I'm kind of tracing, right there, it leaks no matter what. You can see I put some Teflon tape on it just to see if it would fix it. Newsflash, it doesn't. Unfortunately, when I did those, I did to saw off the barb fitting. That way this pressure fitting would pressure fit on. And I don't know if I can't get it tight enough. I don't know what the issue is, but I can't get it tight enough to where it stops leaking. So I took it off and I did that, and it still leaks, so that's unfortunate. Because I can't change the orientation of the valve, I have to reroute these hoses. I'm gonna have to order some fittings. With this line having to go to here now, I'm gonna obviously run this 90, and then this is gonna be a 150. So it's just kind of gonna go like this and then go right there. Honestly, that might work better than what it is now, especially because I do have this long hose. The route that I'm going to go is going to reduce the hose length. And then this one, there's a 45 on it now. This 45 will just go down here and then into there. However, I kind of want to change this setup out because I can't get this to stop leaking. I want to put a 3/4 hose back on it. However, the issue with this is I don't have a barb fitting over here. So if I don't have a barb fitting, there's a chance it's going to leak. I mean, I can obviously try to tighten down one of these hose clamps as tight as possible, but the chances of leaking are still there. But it might be better because with how tough this is to bend, with this being a 45 and then having this here, it might be such a hard bend that it's going to, you know, bend this to where there's a reduced fluid flow. So with going something like this where it's a little more, you know, bendable, a little more flexible, I might have to do something like this. Got this all finished up and it's working correctly. I have the buck boost converter switch set to off. You can see right here, it is off. It's switched to off right now, and the gauge is pointed this way, which means the coolant's going down through there. And then when I switch on the buck boost converter, it'll switch this valve. So it'll go through this hose now, which goes into the interchiller and then out the interchiller back into the manifold. So everything is wired correctly and it flows correctly now, and I shouldn't have any issues. I just got to figure out this coolant leak. Finally figured out what the issue is. You can see it right there. There's a crack in this fitting and you can kind of see it right there. And then where that bright silver spot is, as you can see, the front mount heat exchanger is in the bucket with a bunch of coolant in it. So these compression fittings, they are not working very well. As you can see, this one, I can't get it off. So that happened, and then you can see now there's a hole in the heat exchanger. So that thing's cooked. I have a new one coming, which sucks. I mean, it's like 160 bucks. And then I have new fittings coming. I have to replace this fitting with a new one, and then I'm gonna use that same fitting that I used over here to where, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. I don't even remember where it's at. The same fitting where it's basically just a -12 and then it goes to a barb fitting. So I have one 45 that's gonna go off of this, and then it's gonna be to a hose, and then it's just gonna go in, and it's gonna be easy. This one, I'm hoping I'll have to take this off to do a PTFE line properly. It's gonna be really hard to do right here, but I need to replace this one, and then I have a -12 male to male because they only sell them in female ends, the barb. So I'm gonna have a barb fitting on that, and then it'll just go right into the bottom. And that'll 100% work. Like, there's no reason it won't work. A few days later, I got some parts. This is the front mount heat exchanger. This is what it used to look like before I cut them off to do the compression fittings, because I wanted all PTFE lines. So I do have a new one, finally came in. I do have the new fittings already installed on this PTFE line to where it's gonna go to, oh, where are you? Right there, to where it's now gonna be a barbed fitting. This guy right here for the pump, I do have that fitting right here. Again, it's gonna go to the barbed fitting for the hose. I got 3/4 hose right here along with these guys here, just some springs, because down here there's gonna be some hard bends. So I wanted to put this in there to help it keep its shape. So I believe this is 16 or 17 millimeter. And then 3/4 I believe is 19 millimeter. Yeah, 19 millimeter right there. So it is a little smaller, but unfortunately I couldn't find 18 or 19 millimeter like anywhere. That would be here somewhat soon. So this will do, but this will help keep its shape so it's not gonna have some gnarly kinks in it. I'm gonna get to working on this. It's like 91 degrees in Florida. I thought there was a cold front coming, apparently not. So I'm gonna not film and use my fan, keep me cool. Got it wrapped up here. This is what it's looking like. Oh gosh, I almost fell. Got springs in here. So like this is tight. Springs in this one. So it is good. I filled up with coolant as much as I could. I am completely out of the BMW coolant now. I bought 3 gallons, and then it's a 50-50 mixture. So it's 50% coolant, 50% water, and I'm out. With how much coolant I've spilled, with all these experiments, I guess you want to call it, used quite a bit. So I'm gonna have to go get more soon-ish, but I'm sure this is pretty full. I can't really tell if it's full or not. Wish I had a little gauge on it. but whatever. All right, so let's see what happens. Hello? Oh, the pump's not connected. All right, now the pump's on. Yeah, that moves so much fluid. My gosh, no leaks. This is a miracle. Oh yeah, I can tell there's a lot of air in there. You can hear it. Because normally it wouldn't make that bubbling sound. It just sounded like fluid. I assume it's because the drain is just dumping fluid into here. It's probably like not completely full. I'm about to go get some more for sure. This thing's completely useless, by the way. Like, I had to zip tie it in place. I had to cut so much of this off. Thankfully, you don't really see it once the front bumper is on, because it looks so bad. And I don't see any leaks. So I'm gonna let this do its thing. You can see it is going to the front mount heat exchanger. And then if I flip the switch, it'll go to the interchiller. So I'll flip the switch real quick just so you guys can see that. Here's the buck boost converter switch. You can hear it moving. The converter's on, and it just switched. So now it's going through this hose that goes into the interchiller, and then out the interchiller into the manifold. So it's working good now. Like, we're good. I just got to figure out how to see the temperature of the fluid with this wire harness here. See if I can get it connected to my P3V3 gauge, which I can do now because now I can apply power to the car. I didn't want to do that before when I had these hoses disconnected and the pump move or something happened. I don't know. Picked up some coolant, got the HT12 and distilled water mixed together. That was full. That's how much it's taken so far. You can hear it sounds much better. It doesn't sound all bubbly and like liquid just splashing in. So I basically just had it running the entire time, and I'll slowly fill this up so it kind of just fills it up and air will come out at the same time instead of just dry filling it to where it's like the pump's not running. I'm just filling it to get the air bubbles circulating and all that. I think I'm almost done. I don't know, can't really tell. It's almost taking a whole gallon. All right, and I just sit here and let it do its thing. I keep going until I start to see a little leak on the ground, but I keep getting bubbles and bringing up coolant. First start, you can hear it moving fluid. Well, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but got it off, start it up. A little rough idle there for a second. I've been feeling that has to do with condensation in the manifold still, that there was probably, unfortunately, water sitting in there somewhere. But I'm gonna let this warm up for a bit, see if I can burn off or evaporate some water in the manifold. I'm gonna leave it off. That way it allows the intake manifold to get hot, and then we'll go for a little test drive. All right, so with the Supra, everything is pretty good. I was worried about the radiator fan turning on when I don't have basically the buck boost converter on, just due to the fact that, I don't know, a bunch of stuff spliced into that wire system. But it worked well. I let the car get to temp, and it did what it was supposed to do. Radiator fans turned on, turned the AC on, radiator fans turned on a little higher, so everything's working great. It misfired a little bit when I first started doing my driving, and then I drove for about 15 minutes, and then after a couple times where I hit boost, it eventually went away. Didn't have any issues anymore, so everything seems to be good. When it comes to the drive shaft, I definitely notice a little difference, and especially when it comes to downshifts, you know, when it bucks the engine, essentially, you get a little bit more clank in the rear end. And I do have a feeling that's probably because of my bushings. I got the trans bushings, the rear diff solid subframe mount, and then the single piece drive shaft with the billet, you know, attachment points instead of the rubber ones. So that's where I'm gonna end this video. Everything seems to be great with the Supra. I'm gonna get some miles on it, and then I'll give my general consensus on basically all the bushings and drive shaft that I did. And so I'm gonna call it for now. If you guys are interested in gun videos, I have a lot of guns, and so if that's something you guys want to see more of, let me know. But I'm gonna end the video here. See you guys later. Bye.